Live from San Diego Comic-Con. Oh, wait, we're not there.
We're not there. I'm in
Wilson.
Europe and you're in New York.
I saw some Wilson posted on his TikTok
Mm.
a few, just short videos of him looking at the stuff, mostly toys.
Hmm.
And it made me realize that videos of comic books at a Comic-Con are really boring.
Yes.
It's like there's a reason people show off the toys and the stars and whoever. It's like showing off comic books on a video at a Comic-Con is like pointless almost. Like, what are you going to
Hmm.
see?
Yeah.
You're going to
It's the
see it.
same thing with book fairs.
Yeah,
When they show book fairs, they show all of the people going around
right.
the fairs, but not the books themselves.
The big pieces of art. I saw that
Mhm.
Scott Koblish posted. They took one of Scott, I think it was DC, one of his many multi-figured drawings, and they blew it up to like a wall size, really tall too, so you can go and get your picture taken with all the superheroes.
Yeah.
So, oh, that's pretty neat. But
Right.
showing comic books and then make a video showing, it's like, what do you just see, like, long boxes full of comics, a
Hmm.
wall with the same comics that are up on there all the
Yeah.
time.
So you start filming the cosplayers because at least they're
Yeah,
moving and they're colorful.
right. Even he was showing these, nice glass cabinets with all the Godzilla toys, I think they were. I was like, even those are, more interesting to look at than just random comic books at some of them. I was like,
Mhm.
oh man, I wish comic books were more interesting in
That's
the
why your promoters need to start thinking of a artistic aspect to conventions where you have at least an exhibit to look at, because you
right.
can go and film the exhibit. At least they look like art pieces and you can pretend
Hmm.
it's intellectual.
Hmm.
So the TV stations, well, comics are an art form because now it's hanging on the wall.
That just reminded me of another. I think I mentioned a few weeks ago that I finally got onto. For some reason, the algorithm started delivering me comic book TikTok.
Mm.
Don't ask me why the algorithm never showed me people showing off their comic books before, because I post my quick video on TikTok of comic books I bought. But one thing that drives me crazy um, is that people, when they show off at least half the people out there, when they show off their comic books on TikTok, don't know to turn off mirroring.
Ah, right.
So it's like they're showing, when something's got logos all over it, don't show it mirrored. Because I like skip those ones so often now. Like, I'm like, I can't tell what's going on in this cover. Everything's mirrored. And I just want to leave a message on each of them. Turn off mirroring, but I don't. But I'm like, turn off mirroring. When you're showing off comic books, turn off mirroring. Because
Yeah, I really don't get why some videos come up mirrored, because
I think the
to me it doesn't make
reason,
sense.
is that the it was originally put on like when smartphones first came out years ago. By default, it was put on because they thought um, when looking at the smartphone, people were more comfortable if it was mirrored because they're used to looking in mirrors.
Hmm.
So that I had read that was the thinking behind mirroring, the front facing camera on your phone, which is still by default on a lot of phones mirrored. Or I don't know why anyone would turn it on, especially when showing comic books. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Mhm. Well, I guess in my case, since right now, to me, you're on my right.
Yeah.
So if I have to look at you, I'm doing this, but then the camera sees me going the other way. So I understand why that's sometimes weird. So you can be looking at yourself, looking at the right way.
Yeah. Could yeah. I think that was, they said people are more comfortable looking at themselves in a mirror than not, so they mirror. But if you're going to have words, could we have them go the correct way?
Let's mirror myself to see how I look. How do I look?
I don't think you mirrored it's the same.
Is it?
I don't even know how to mirror or not mirror here.
Well, you should be able to mirror yourself because it's your own camera. So you go to
You would think so.
you go to the
No way.
settings. You go to the settings in camera, and then there's a box that you can tick to mirror yourself.
Yeah, there must be. It's not right up here in, because there's background, reaction, studio light, portrait. And mine, let's see, monstrous. Mine's not mirrored. Good.
Mm-hmm.
This is the latest issue of Monstrous, number 58. And this was a good, I gotta say, I got 11 comics this week, and they were like all really good, which is unusual. It was like Monstrous now, which is funny. Sleepy Reader, when he left a comment on my poll, he's like, you must be, it must be 10 years you've been buying Monstrous now. And I looked it up, and sure enough, Monstrous number 1 was November 2015. So it's coming up on 10 years of Monstrous. And this was a good issue. It's so hard to get into the plot of Monstrous because it's like this long fantasy tale. But we're at the point now where the name of it is Monstrous because there are these elder gods who like left a long time ago, but they still have an effect on them. The world still remembers them and still remembers that, you know, there's legendary times when the elder gods ruled the place, whatever the world, Earth, I don't know. And so now, and the monstrous of the title was this woman, Mariko. I can't even remember her name.
Tamaki.
Marika. The half wolf, that's her name. But she, inside her, had one of these elder gods. And it was like it was like part of her bloodline somehow. So she had a deal with this elder god within her, even though it really didn't do much for most of the series. But now, since around issue 45 or 50, I don't even remember when it's like the first like 8 years of the series were building up to this war between humans and magical people and all, you know, it's too complicated to get into. Finally, it happened. The war's been going on for a couple of years now. And just in this issue, the elder gods are kind of making themselves known in that think that they need a human host in order to be in this world, and they're trying to get in this world. So now all of a sudden 4 or 5 people have elder god human hosts, and they're all warring with each other too. So it's like this crazy, this whole issue was like the half wolf lost her elder god, got stolen by her dad, who's a real SOB. I think the elder god was like the sorceress powers were passed down through the matriarchal line. But her father was this real ambitious SOB, and he ended up stealing her. So now some other elder god was in her, messing her up and messing up one of her friends. So she had to call on some other elder god to come and help. It was just like this crazy elder god throwdown where the human beings were just trying not to get killed. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been some crazy stories, some pretty artwork. But yeah, a good issue. It's like, and with me, you know, 58 issues, Monstrous has had its ebbs and flows with me. As any, you know, even though they're the same two, you know, people doing it, there's still ebbs and flows to the series. Not everything's a climactic thing. You know, for like a year, they were off in some elder god alternate world for a while. And that wasn't my favorite story. But when you're collecting something like Monstrous, you go with the ebbs and flows, and this is I guess it would be a flow, right? Because the ebb would be not as much.
But it is consistent, right?
Yes, it's consistent.
Mm.
It's very consistent. Like, there's still stuff you like better than other stuff.
I've noticed I was taking a look at the publishing schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Tim, Comic Collector. How are you? The books come out about between February and September.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're done, and
Right.
then I guess the collected edition comes out before Christmas. So it's kind of a smart publishing schedule.
Yeah. I think that I can't remember if that was the first, because like I said, I'm so used to being that I'm an indie guy. I'm so used to series disappearing for a while these days.
Mm-hmm.
So and since it's on my pull list, I don't have to keep track of it. So I'm always like, oh, look, a new issue of such and such. Cool. So it's like, I don't know. I couldn't have told you its publishing schedule, just because for me, its publishing schedule is whenever it shows up on my pull list.
Right. So I guess there's 6 issues per trade paperback.
6 issues per year would be right, because 60 issues is 5 years worth of a monthly comic. So I guess they've been getting 6 issues a year out. They also got out 3 graphic. What are the name of them? The Night Eaters. They managed to get out 3 hardcover graphic novels too in that same time. I've only read the first one.
Because this is the thing. If you're doing a creator-owned comic, you don't have to follow a monthly schedule if you don't want to, and you should be able to maximize your presence on the stands.
Yeah. Because you can get people like me, as long as the monthly comic is making them some money, that's good. Because they can get people like me and the trade waiters. Like, what was it that just wasn't making enough money on the stands? Snot Girl. That was the one they just in the last issue said we're going right to trade because our trades are selling pretty well, but the monthly issues aren't. So it's like they're dropping the monthly issues. I'm like, all right.
Right. If you can push the production costs to the monthlies, then the trades are effectively free.
Yeah.
Free.
All gravy. I don't think they were able to push all the costs.
Right, bro. That's why I guess that's why they stopped.
Yeah.
Because if you can make ends meet, get 5% back on the monthlies,
mm-hmm.
Then you make the rest of the money back on the trades. But if you're losing money on the monthlies, the trades may not be enough to.
Yeah, you might be in a hole. To start, you start off the trades in a hole, so it's like, oof. But you're going to start off the trades in a hole anyway, because now the whole cost is on the trades. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know but I can still remember. I can't remember there were a big Canadian comic shop, the Beguiling. I think that's the name of it. And the guy, I forget the name of the guy who runs it, but I used to read quotes by him all the time in various magazines. And I can still remember years ago him saying, it's easier for me to sell one $15 trade than 5 $3 comics. So hopefully it'll be easier them to sell one, $20 trade than 5 $4 comics or whatever.
Well, ideally, somebody could come off the street, look at a trade paperback, and this is a full story. I can try it out.
Yeah.
And you don't even need if they don't number the trade paperbacks and they're somewhat independent of each other.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even matter if you read it in order or not.
Right.
Okay, and speaking of Canadians, here's Tit Goblin. No, finding out that Wilson's not here to keep us all civilized. Sorry to hear about Chris's food poisoning. He shouldn't have eaten that VHS copy of RoboCop 3.
I have not heard about Chris's food poisoning. I haven't heard from Chris in a little while. Huh. And here's something I just discovered this week. Do you know there's a new TV show based on a comic book that I've heard nobody mention? And it's on like episode 7 on Sci-Fi.
If it's on Sci-Fi, nobody's watching.
That must be it. But I was like, Revival. Do you remember the comic Revival?
I don't.
It was one I bought. I think Tim Seeley wrote it. I forget who drew it. What did they call it? Rural Noir. It was about one day in this small town in the Midwest. All the recently dead people came back to life. And it was kind of like, what would happen if that happened? You know, there wasn't really, of course, it made people go a bit nuts because what is this? Is this the end of the world? Is the Book of Revelations? So I think it lasted 40 or 50 issues. I mean, I bought the whole thing all the way through. It was good. And I remember hearing a couple of years ago, they were trying to make a TV show out of it. But sure enough, I just discovered this week, there's like 7 episodes. I'm like, so much for the days where a TV show would drive the speculators to buy, because I haven't heard anyone on YouTube mention it. I haven't heard and I was like, wow, talk about, like I said, nobody cares that a comic is being made into a TV show anymore. Those days are over.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it's not superheroes. But then again, the most famous comic book TV show was horror, and so is this. Hello, Meyer. How are you, man?
But I think Walking Dead made everybody care about indie comics being turned into TV shows, at least for a brief time. But not anymore. I think, what was it? Deadly Class put an end to that too. Outcast, and 2 more that were just, based on indie comics, but nothing ever became of the TV shows weren't very good, so nobody cared.
Yeah, remember Powers?
Yeah, wasn't that a web show?
Kind of, yeah.
That's right, Preacher. That was another one no one cared about after a while.
Yeah, they were kind of excited for the first 2 episodes, and then bananas.
But it's like, so it's like, indie comics being made into a TV show aren't even worth a mention anymore. Like I said, episode 7 just came out. It's been on for a month and a half, and I saw it pop up on a list of stuff. I was like, Revival, that exists? Like, whoa. One of those series I've always meant to go back and reread, because I, of course, read it as it came out, but I never read it all as one thing, kind of, which is always a different experience.
Do you think American Splendor could work as a TV show?
American Splendor? I don't think so.
We could do a TV show set in the 70s about a guy who collects jazz records.
I am surprised it worked as a movie.
Yeah. I mean, if it was on Lifetime, but the thing about all of these, the early indie guys who tried to do autobiographical comics, you guys are cartoonists. Your life is not interesting.
Yep. I mean, I didn't become an American Splendor fan till after the movie. I think the movie made me a fan of the comics, because I read some of the comics and I was not into them.
Meyer says that Hate could be a show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
It would have to be like a nostalgia show now. It would have to be set in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm. And you could see him kind of growing up.
Yeah. The Bradleys could certainly be a sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
You could start there.
Meyer would watch. Yes, Meyer would watch American Splendor. But yeah,
have,
I mean,
have you read the
you
Bradleys?
no, man. Yeah, I don't know what to do about picking up Hate. I mean, I'm not going to buy the omnibus.
They're coming out with new softcover versions of
Mm.
the Complete Hate. I think the first volume is just about out, so you can buy it in that too. But the Bradleys, which appeared in Neat Stuff, was about the Buddy Bradley, his sister, whose name I can't, Butch, his younger brother, and his
Mm.
parents. So it was like this dysfunctional New Jersey suburb family. That's what hit. So that would work perfectly as a sitcom or
Yeah,
something.
Meyer agrees. It's like
Yeah,
the
it would have to
90s.
be out of Slacker '90s. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean we've reached a point in civilization where the 90s are retro,
yeah.
so it could work, I guess.
But it still hasn't really been mined for pop culture yet. The '90s, I don't think.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah,
lots of '90s mentions.
right. Yeah, because the 70s and 80s have an aura of craziness.
Right.
The 90s were pretty crazy, but people were so accustomed to craziness that they seem kind of normal. I mean, that was the 90s was the era of skateboarding. I mean, they started in the 80s, but skateboarding and
Tony
surfing,
Hawk,
yeah, those are mostly 90s. They're associated
skateboarding,
with 90s.
video games became huge in the '90s.
Yeah.
Not that there weren't some big video games in the '80s, but with PlayStation and Nintendo 64 and all that stuff took off in the '90s.
Hmm.
And comics were huge in the '90s. Let's not
Yeah.
forget that.
Hmm. Well, which takes me back to wanting to do a TV series based on Hey Kids comics. A and to me, it would have to be a show like Mad Men.
Uh-huh.
Focusing on on the industry, seen from the inside. No normal people, just cartoonists being silly. But I wouldn't, if it was a TV series, I would not waste time with either a direct adaptation, mostly because the original series jumps
Right.
from time between time periods, but also because nobody's going to waste any time trying to figure out which one is an analog of Jack Kirby and which one is an
Yeah.
analog of Gil Kane. For the normal people, it doesn't make any sense.
Do you remember Bob Newhart's last TV series, Bob?
No, it was never here.
It's from the '90s. It took place in a comic book company. It only ran about 12 episodes. They're out on DVD. They've been out. But um, Bob Newhart played it's very '90s, played a sort of older, out of work cartoonist who was famous for his series decades ago, Mad Dog. And now the comic book company, I forget their name, was reviving Mad Dog with making him a new, edgier '90s Mad Dog. So it was about Bob Newhart, the old-fashioned cartoonist, coming into the modern '90s comic book company and being outraged by the stuff they were doing with Mad Dog and trying to make it a hit and stuff like that. It was, but they did a pretty good job of getting it to look like a comic book company. They had guys at desks with X-Acto knives and pencils
Mhm.
and stuff. I actually remember liking it.
Yeah, Meyer also likes my idea about a historical drama like Mad Men. Uh, yeah, I think if somebody knew how to pitch that, it could function. I'm not sure how producers would react to the idea of something set in three different time periods, because you want to do something in the golden age, in the silver
Yeah.
age, and in the image age, I guess. And yeah, you can, if you do something around the 1940s, then something set in the 60s, and something set in the late 80s, early 90s. And but you need if you're playing a character in the 40s, you need to apply makeup to on them to get to play their 60s and 90s selves, because you don't want to. Okay, so and so plays this person at age 20, and somebody else plays the person at age 70. I think they just this makeup is believable now that they can have somebody who's 30 play a 20-year-old in a period piece, and then apply makeup to make them look like they're 70.
Hmm.
Each season could be different eras. Maybe I guess that could make it easier to
Yeah.
produce, because that's the problem with the original series. It jumped a lot between time periods on all of the three series. Yeah, season one, the 30s. Yeah, I guess I'd start in 1940, so you can have a Siegel and Schuster analogs doing a Superman character, and then there would be the Kirby coming up with a patriotic hero, and then World War II starts, and then everybody starts disappearing because they're all getting
I
drafted.
was just thinking the early 40s would be a different story than the late 40s, even
Yeah,
due
it
to the
would.
war.
Right. Yeah, because then there's another problem. Do you move the story fast from episode to episode, so you can start in 1940 and then in 1948, for example,
Right.
and then the second season starts in 1959 and moves through 73, but you only have like 10 episodes? That's too much. I mean, there is much of a narrative, so maybe it's not such a good idea to have it like that. Then you'd have to come up with a concept that would allow you to move between all of the three eras in one episode.
Another problem would be so much of the narrative would be ripping off the talent
Mm. Right. Right.
in
There's
every
the
era. I'd be like,
40,
maybe
50
40 or
episodes.
50.
Yeah, at the way they produce series nowadays, if you'd need about 4 seasons for the whole of it. Yeah. So I don't know if you can do it. The way that Chicken did the story, there's kind of diff there's kind of a different vibe through each of the three series, because they all move through between the 40s, the 60s, and the 90s. But there's a certain vibe about this specific series. Like one focuses on convention culture and about the people doing comics being well known or not.
On the positive side, it would probably be pretty cheap to produce.
Right.
Not a
I
lot
mean,
of special effects and
right.
laser beams and
It's just
lightsabers.
right. It's just the costumes, and if you have to film outside, you have to make sure that everyone's driving a Packard or something.
Yeah. Brand new shiny cars everywhere. Or even if they're not brand new, they're still shiny.
Yeah, but it's like most of Madman was shot inside.
Yeah.
So if you have a studio that looks like a bullpen, and another one is probably inside of the house of one of the characters, there was those talking scenes in the diner between the three main characters.
And those are easy enough. Diners all look the same.
Hmm. Yeah. So then it's the costumes, and clothes are cheap. So yeah, you don't need much. So you can sell it. You can probably sell it to the producers, and this is going to cost next to nothing, except for the makeup department. But and then all the characters are unlikable.
Yeah.
But then again, so they were unlikable in Madman. They were all hard drinking womanizers, who were high on so on social stratification.
I think that makes them not likable, but enviable.
Right. Right.
That's what it is. People, um, like in The Great Gatsby,
Mhm.
Tom in The Great Gatsby is the asshole. He's clearly like the bad guy of the book, made very clear. But he's still likable because he's rich and powerful and not always wrong. So it's like it's weird how you can try to make a character unlikable, like Rorschach in
Mhm.
Watchmen, but people still like him because people like power. They want to they don't necessarily like the guys in Mad Men, but they envy them because they want power like
Mhm.
those guys have. So that I always found that weird about saying somebody's unlikable, but in order to make somebody really unlikable, they have to be powerless. Then people really won't like them. As soon as you give someone power, they become more likable. I don't know what that is about us human beings.
Yeah. Mara says a running thread type heroic original character would be needed. Uh,
Yeah.
well, the three main characters aren't exactly unlikable, but they do complain a lot, which is which
Yeah.
is par for the course for people in the comic book industry.
Yeah.
All of you guys complain a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot to
Nope.
complain about.
Yeah. Mhm. The other thing, I'm not sure if it would in the 40s, in the since set in the 40s, since the industry was mostly run by Jewish people. How much could you get away in the dialogue with using Yiddish?
You throw some words in. We all know
Yeah.
plenty of Yiddish words.
Hmm.
Let me show you something I read this week.
Hmm.
I finally got around to reading a few things.
Oh, speaking of Chris, he's here. Hello, Chris.
Hello there, Chris. We were just saying we haven't heard from you in a while.
Ah, I'm back, baby.
He's back, baby. He's not in San Diego like Wilson. If only he can figure out his horizontal from his vertical.
I don't control the horizontal.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not rotating.
Yeah, I don't control the horizontal or the vertical. Right. And everything is wrong with your TV set. You need to adjust.
I think you're going to have to keep it vertical like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't turn horizontal with you.
Why not?
You on a cell phone?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, let me try it on my own.
Okay.
Oh, wait, did that work? No.
Nope.
No, you're still vertical.
Settings.
Psych. Whew. Oh, it's down to 86 out there. It was up at 92 today.
Okay.
You just switched to the other side, I think.
Yeah.
It's not doing anything.
You are not going horizontal. You've got that camera locked.
Is that a new phone?
Meanwhile, I'll show you
come back.
Drafted by Rick Parker.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I heard that was up.
I think I got this 6 months ago.
Really?
Yeah. And I finally got around to reading it, and it's terrific. Rick Parker, I know personally.
Because it only showed up on the pirate sites this week.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. But Rick, longtime letterer at Marvel. I knew him from my bullpen days in the 90s. And he also drew Beavis and Butthead. Maybe what? That lasted a long time. That was like 60 issues.
I guess. Yeah.
I think this is the first thing, but I think this is the first thing he said that he wrote entirely himself. But he's been doing comics of various types for years. But I found this really interesting, not only because Rick Parker is a good cartoonist and storyteller. There he is. He's horizontal.
Cool.
Did you know Rick Parker, Chris?
No, but the way you said that sounds like he died.
No. He did this graphic novel called Drafted. He did Beavis and Butthead in the 90s. He was a Marvel letterer for a long time. Though he didn't really, he was always a hand letterer. I don't know if he did how much digital lettering he did. That's probably why Chris doesn't know him. But he also drew Beavis and Butthead from Marvel. But what's interesting, it's a story about him being drafted in 1966. And it's a really interesting story, too, because he didn't actually get sent over to Vietnam. So his whole 2 years service was spent in the States. And he was a lousy soldier. He didn't always know what he was supposed to do. He kind of went with the flow. But Rick's a bright guy. So he somehow ended up in officer school. So it's the whole story. It's a story you never hear. Like usually when you hear a story about someone being drafted during the Vietnam era, they end up being sent to Vietnam and fighting in the war. That's your normal sort of drafted during the Vietnam. This one it's all about the crazy things that happened to him when he was in boot camp and officer school and all. And like I said, he was a lousy soldier. He didn't always quite know what was going on. He ended up, it was everything just kind of happened by circumstances. And as he said, he was a particularly naive, I think he was 19 when he was drafted. And the first thing he tried to do was go to college, but he was so bad at math, he failed out of college because he had to take math classes in college. And then he was going to go to college again in September. So I think he got kicked out of college in the spring semester. So he actually even went to like his local draft board to tell him, because if you were in college, you got a draft deferment. Mm-hmm. He went in there just to tell them that he was going to be going back to college in September, but he still got drafted over the summer. And it's a really interesting story. Some gruesome parts too, because you always hear about people dying. Like when you're in the Army, you can die in training exercises.
Yes. We've had quite a few in the last 10 years over here.
And not even like, I mean, crazy thing. Like he tells this one story of this one poor guy who was in a truck. Let me see if I can get the page. He was in a truck and they were hauling something behind them, like some piece of equipment behind them. Like just to go to in field exercises. So here's the truck. Here's the truck. Here's the piece of equipment behind them, and it was one of those trucks that carries a bunch of soldiers. And they were getting out in between. There's a trailer behind them with this piece of equipment on it. And just as the guy was getting out, a drunk ran his car right into and just crushed the guy between the equipment and the truck. And it was so bad that they had to wash down the truck. At one point, like his captain got sick to his stomach because as the captain was driving behind the truck on the way back, the guy's face was stuck to one part of the truck. They hadn't washed that off yet. So and that was just like one gruesome. There was like at least one other gruesome death. And it had nothing to do with the war. It was like, he never even made it over to the war. But so there was, it was all about him being not a particularly good sold. It was a slice of life story that you just don't read. And like I said, Rick Parker is a really good cartoonist, so it's really well written, it's really well told, and it's a story you just don't hear ever. Because, like I said, no one, and I think he even said in the beginning, somewhere in here, he was like, I always knew I wanted to tell. Even back then, he was like, I wanted to tell this story. I said, although I have worked as an artist for Marvel Comics and other companies in collaboration with writers for nearly 50 years, this is the first work of any significant length that I both illustrated and written. I first began to think of telling this story in book form as it actually happened to me when I was a soldier from 1966 to 69. There were many times during my 3 years, 1 month, and 5 days of military service when I said to myself, this is unbelievable. I've got to tell somebody about this someday. So it was really an interest, worth giving a read to Drafted if you want to read something by Rick Parker. If you want to read something that's by a very good cartoonist and a story you don't hear that often, it's good stuff.
See, that's a proper autobiographical comic.
Yes. It's not about a cartoonist sitting at his drafting table all day.
Yeah.
What are you working on tonight, Chris? He's got to take a minute.
Design job.
Design job. No fun.
Just like I'm just trying to short. What is the easiest way to explain this? Just a design job.
Just a design job. How's convention season?
They want their graphic. Uh-oh. I'm running out of power.
Uh-oh.
Convention season. Oh man, it's pretty good so far. It's heating up again next weekend. I head to Nebraska, and the weekend after that is Connecticut for Terrificon.
Aha. That's the one that's at the casino? Terrificon?
Yes. Haven't been there in 7 or 8 years.
Oh, wow. You know, a lot of
Used
people
to
are
go
now
every year.
going.
All right, our time traveling
Like who
specialist
else?
is here.
Captain Finity with his cup of coffee, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Drafted.
And they could even make a movie out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It would definitely make an interesting movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before you got here, Chris, we were talking about if indie autobiographical comics could become TV series. Which brought us to my ongoing pitch to do a series based on Howard Chaykin's Hey Kids comics on the style of Madman.
The style of Madman.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody that ever worked in the Marvel bullpen thought like, oh, this should just be a TV show. What happens here every day?
Oh, it could have been a reality show. That was before reality shows were around. Especially the early 90s.
No, it
if
wasn't.
you made that into a reality show, it would have been fun.
Captain Finity already has his time travel police T-shirt.
Make
sure
the actual.
Well, you can leave a comment with a link so we can take a look at it.
Huh. Let me show you this. That was really good this week. I got the latest Scott Koblish covered history of the DC universe.
Darn, it's full.
With all these little. But I have to say, the inside artwork really impressed me.
Mhm.
They're doing this thing where it's not a traditional comic, it's telling a story in caption boxes. And the two artists were Michael Allred and who's the other guy here? Let me see. Michael Allred and Mark Waid writer, Brad Walker and Michael Allred artist. So Brad Walker is the artist who's not Michael Allred. But they did these pages without panels because it's mostly about presenting characters. But it just flowed. I mean, all of the composition was really well done. I don't remember liking the first issue of this as much as I liked this second issue. Shirtless Batman makes an appearance.
Yeah.
70,
that
Neil Adams, shirtless Batman.
that's from that graphic novel, Son of the Demon, where Batman and Talia have sex.
I think they were taking that from the 70s, shirtless Batman too, and he was in the desert with Talia. But I have to say, the art really, really impressed me
Mhm.
because it read so well and it was drawn so well and it flowed because, like I said, it's not panel to panel stuff. It's just, full page drawings,
Mhm.
which didn't really read like pinups. It flowed perfectly with the.
Right. Allred at least would be mindful of doing
Yeah.
it in the spirit of how George Perez did the original one.
And also, Allred is very good at covers and very good at sort of old-fashioned lots of figures covers.
Mhm.
So he was definitely a good choice for this. I'm not sure who Brad Walker is. The name is familiar, but I'm not. But clearly some pages were by Allred and some pages were by Walker. I don't think they were working together. But the level of illustration was really good and the composition was excellent. Brad Walker drew Zatanna. He did, like I said, they both did a really. Like I said, I don't remember liking the first issue as much as I liked this issue. It could also be that they have a better idea for what they're doing now, after the first issue. But there were some funny parts in it because I'm not much of a continuity guy, as I don't really, because this is all about sort of locking in DC's continuity at the moment. So it's like they were mixing in, but there was a couple of lines that cracked me up.
Well, it's going to be locked in the same way as the first one was.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: when they said that that Crisis took out a lot of stuff from the Silver Age, eventually you had a bunch of writers, Mark Waid included, who couldn't wait to start dropping the forgotten stuff from the Silver Age in there. So anything that they take out, it's going to come back. I think there was an issue with
whoever has the power, the person who has the power to say we're doing the new 52, we're starting all over in continuity, doesn't want to be a continuity cop. So writers are always going to sneak stuff back in there because without a continuity cop, the writers are going to put in whatever they want. Like you said, they're going to bring it back in. Mm-hmm. So that's why it can never hold. And whatever vice president has the power to say, we're going to do it, doesn't want to be a continuity cop. They don't want to deal with the nuts and bolts of it. So no one ever does. So continuity always sneaks back in. And then, 10 years later, Mark Waid gets to write his own official continuity. But here's something he wrote. Here's something he wrote that I don't remember this. They're talking about Batman and Robin first. Luckily, we didn't have to fight them alone. Batman was the first to take in a partner, a young circus aerialist whose parents had also been murdered by criminals. Clad in a bulletproof yellow cape, he called himself Robin. That is the first mention I've ever heard about Robin's yellow cape being bulletproof. And they put that in there because of the criticisms of Batman endangering Robin.
Yeah.
But is that the first time you've ever heard a bulletproof cape mentioned with Robin? Because I never have before.
Captain Fantasy is the only
What's great
online presence for
is
the
how
time
it wraps
travel.
around
police.
every part of his body.
Yeah,
Almost.
give him a bulletproof armor. And the other thing I found funny in here was, I guess, according to official DC continuity, where is it? Darkseid showed up and fought like the Justice League before Kirby's Fourth World stuff.
New 52.
That was New 52?
Yeah, because here's the thing. Now, Cyborg is a founding member of the Justice League.
Oh, yeah, that
and
was the other thing.
And Darkseid is everywhere. Everything is Darkseid.
Right. And that was the other thing that was new to me in here was Cyborg was in the Justice League when they fought Darkseid, and it was Darkseid who crushed him and made him have to get all his cyborg parts. I did not, so that was new to me too. But wow, but yeah, the art in this is just terrific. They did such a good job with the art storytelling wise. Just looking through it is a lot of fun because each figure flows seamlessly into the next figure, even though they're sort of unrelated in terms of storytelling. It's really terrifically. I was much more impressed with the second issue than I was with the first.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking of trying this out, try out the second issue.
Yeah, but that cover is very busy, though.
Oh yeah. Well, this is the Scott Koblish cover, so
yeah,
it's supposed to be very busy.
Yeah.
That's why I got it.
Yeah. In 20 years' time, Chris, you're going to be hired to do your own take on those covers.
On the Scott Koblish million figure cover.
Yeah.
That'll keep him busy for a month or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep me busy.
You should charge by the character in this case.
Yeah, I wonder how much they're paying him for that, because it takes him a long time to do.
Yeah. Well, you remember how Keith Giffen stopped drawing the Legion because of that poster? Yeah. That's going to make you not want to do any superhero comics for a while.
My friend Matt did the world's largest seek and find poster. That's one of his projects. It's out there now. You can get it. A seek and find is this, sort of like that, except it's really big. It's like 6 feet long, or maybe even 10 feet long by 3 feet high. And it's a big poster that kids can hang up on the wall. And there's a list of things to find that you can check off when you find them. So you have to find, Santa Claus in this thousands of figures here. You look for Santa, you look for this guy, you look for the next guy. So that's look up the world's largest seek and find poster, and you can find my friend Matt's stuff there. But that's kind of what that, you have to seek Zatanna. Where is she? I don't know.
All right, Captain Infinity, his only online presence for the Time Travel Police book is on Twitter so far. And he's been talking about Back to the Future with Grok. But Grok will agree with you. Also, Captain Infinity says, Chris, stop talking over me when I'm trying to read his chat. But Chris was not looking at the screen, so he didn't know that I was reading your chat.
Yep.
There's always a lag when I talk.
So what cons have you done so far this year, Chris?
Heroes Con. And let's see. Verde Valley Comic Expo in Sedona, Arizona.
Okay. Does your brother still live in Arizona?
That might be the only cons so far.
Okay. Does your brother still live in Arizona?
I think maybe. Don't know.
Yeah, you guys don't do family reunions, right?
I thought that's why you used to do cons in Arizona, because you could stay with your brother.
Well, I used to live there.
I know you used to live there.
I used to live in Arizona. Way back when.
In the olden days. Phoenix,
I-
Arizona, all the way to Tacoma.
I asked Grok where I should live if I ever won the lottery and I wanted to move to the United States,
Uh-huh.
and it said I should live in Arizona.
Okay.
First, it wanted to send me to
Did you
Idaho,
give it
but
some
then
kind of?
well, first Grok wanted to send me to Idaho, but I told Grok I don't like snow. I only like potatoes after they're fried, and I want to be near and I want to be near somewhere that has cars and comics.
Ah.
So Arizona it is.
All right. Well,
Also,
then,
I need
makes sense.
dry weather. I like dry weather. Captain Finity says Grok did disagree, but was very gracious and accepted my correction when it was objectively incorrect. My conclusions are logically flawless.
Huh.
Well, you're cheating because you go into the future to find out stuff. I bet you have a copy of the Greer Sports Almanac. Captain Finity is serious about establishing all the timelines regarding Back to the Future.
Oh, here's a weird thing I noticed this week. How much trading cards cost? Because, I haven't really bought any kind of trading cards in years. And the thing about trading cards nowadays, I notice in like seeing videos online or whatever, is that nobody wants the base set. Trading cards are gambling now.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants the chase sets. Everybody wants the money cards. But I was watching somebody pull, what's the name of it? Superman Fleer Brilliant set. It's I guess a set that Fleer put out to go along sort of with the Superman, though it's comic book based. It's not movie based. So you open it up, and there's and you also, since you're chasing the rare cards, you don't buy individual packs. They sell the packs in boxes. So it's like you don't want to buy an individual pack of cards because your chances of getting the chase cards are much lower when you're buying an individual pack of cards, especially since somebody might have figured out which ones have the chase cards in them and are just selling the packs without chase cards in them. So the guy went and got a, little box. They're little boxes too, like from Walmart or something. There's 8 packs in the little boxes, only 5 cards per pack. So there's 45 cards for $30. And I was just like, that sounds crazy to me. And of course, and everybody who opens them is like, don't care. Oh, I got a special reflect, and they all like reflect. They're all, but they have parallels or a special kind of reflection, and they're looking for. And I was just like, this is kind of nuts. I mean, it's like 80% of the trading cards no one cares about, or 90%. I don't even know what the number is. But just the trading card, and that's what they want to bring to comics with the blind bags. Where like for Battle Beast #1, when I bought that one blind bag, and people were buying 8, 5, or 10 blind bags to try to get the rare item. I was like, what the heck? Blind bags make you sell 10 times as many comics. They're going to do it. And there was a controversy with the what's the name of that? Big Rig by who's that pop star who did? Oh, I can't remember his name. He's a singer, rapper, whatever he is, pop star, who just put out a comic called Big Rig.
No.
I got the free comic book day one. You'd know his name if I could remember it, but I can't remember it. But what they did, of course, they had 30 covers or something like that for Big Rig #1. Some of them being rarer than others. So what they did was they sold a special box of, I think it was 15 #1s with all the different rarities of covers there. And it was like $100 because it's got 15 comics in it. 5, 6, whatever. It was expensive. It was not cheap. I forget the full retail price, but it was like around $100. But people who got them and started opening them found like I think they're supposed of the 15 copies, they got like 6 copies of the standard cover and 7 copies of the standard alternate cover, and then like 2 or 3 of the other. Like no, there was so much complaining about it, and it was so bad that the company is now replacing all the boxes for free. So they're sending it because everybody was so angry with it because they all got the same covers in their box. When there's 30 possible covers and you've got 10 of one cover or 2 covers at most, it just made everybody so up. I saw like everybody online complaining about it. So my LCS owner told me just this week, he's like, yeah, they're replacing them all for free. I was like, oh, interesting.
Okay. Captain Infinity says, that's great, Paulo. I went forward and copied my own book. See, you don't have to work on it.
He doesn't have to write it at all.
Yeah, all art is visualizing the finished piece into the future. Whoa, mind blown. Yeah, well, when you create art, you're first visualizing all of the potential future timelines where the art exists, and then they all crash and coalesce into a single timeline.
That's like, speaking of Back to the Future, what was that song that nobody wrote according to Back to the Future? Which rock and roll song was it?
Johnny Be Good.
Johnny Be Good. There we go.
Yeah. Right, because Marty was playing it, and Chuck Berry's cousin put it on the.
Listen to this. Chuck Berry stole it from himself in another timeline.
Yeah.
And I came up with a new genre. It's kind of a mashing of 2 genres. Speaking of finally reading, New York Mon Amour, a Jacques Tardy book, and it's got what's the name of this one? Cockroach Killer in it, which I already had. I didn't know that was in this. This, I think, it's also got 3 short stories about New York, drawn by Jacques Tardy. But I actually have Cockroach Killer. I didn't realize that when I got this book, but also I didn't know this is a completely different translation, because the Cockroach Killer I got was the one that came out in the mid-90s by NBM. And I hadn't even read it then. I got this, I looked up when I got it, January of 24. And I probably showed it off here. I finally got around to reading it, 18 months later. But of course, Franz Kafka, who I think I've only read comic book adaptations of Kafka's work. I think I can't remember if I've actually read some of his short stories. I think I may have, but I'm not 100% sure. But of course, all my life, I've known the word Kafka-esque.
Yeah, and its meaning.
And its meaning. Generally, it means to be powerless and caught up in usually bureaucracy. You're powerless and caught up in this weird bureaucracy that makes no sense. You know, you're a helpless cog in this machine. You want the world to make rational sense, but it makes none. The bureaucracy's got you. You're sucked into it, and there's nothing you can do. In generally, would you say that's what Kafka-esque means? Around that, like I said, bureaucracy. It usually has to do something like that.
Something inevitable and unnecessary.
Yeah, unnecessary. There's a good word. I'd call this the cockroach killer in this Kafka noir, because it's really a noir book. New York, as you've never seen it before. But the lead character, this guy who works killing cockroaches, is really caught up. He's helplessly caught up in this noir. He's just doing his job. And it's weird too. I think this was originally done in the early 80s. And the lead character isn't American. He was a war orphan in World War II. I think he was German war orphan. And like a soldier took him home. But then he was adopted by this other family. So it's like he's got this weird, convoluted backstory. I don't know why, just to make the story a little more interesting. But his job is an exterminator in New York City. That's where he ended up. And one day, he's got a job in this, and I think he was a bit of a confused guy even before. You know, with his background, he always, didn't have a good, solid childhood. So that adds to his feeling of being detached. He's going to do this job, and he looks over at the elevator, and he's like, and he sees the button for the 13th floor. He was like, there's no 13th floors in New York City. Or out of superstition, there's no 13th floors, usually in buildings. I don't know if it's like that everywhere.
It is not.
But so he pushed 13, and he went up. He was supposed to go to 14, but he went to 13, and he's walking around, just looking around, and he overhears two guys planning to assassinate someone. So he's like, oh no, this is bad news. How did I end up here? So then he gets back in the elevator, goes up to the 14th floor. The guy who hired him was like, you took your own sweet time. Where'd you go? And so then he gets out, and he's got this completely sort of feeling that he's caught up in something he doesn't know what's going on, because instead of going back to his job, he goes into the bar across the street, and he looks out the street, and he sees like the two guys from the 13th floor going into his workplace. So he's like, oh, what's going on? And then one of his buddies from work is like, I'll take care of you. They go up to Harlem or somewhere. And this guy is like a sort of a small-time criminal, well, running this little neighborhood in Harlem. And he's got his guys. And he just gets caught up in this whole noir story in a Kafka-esque way. So it's like Kafka noir. The whole thing, and the whole time he's just like, oh boy, what am I supposed to do? Oh geez, I'm caught up in it. There's nothing. I'm a dead man. Oh geez. And then like it's this convoluted story where these like spies are going against the neighborhood guys, with him caught in the middle. Somehow the doctor he went to see who is it was a really interesting story. I liked it a lot, but It's definitely Kafka noir because he was caught up in stuff he didn't know what.
I was taking a look here at the. So yeah, Roach Killer came out in '84 in France,
Yeah,
and New York, My Love came out in 2008.
right.
So Benjamin Legrand wrote both stories for Tardy, but he had a co-writer for the second. So how many pages is that one?
Let's see.
Because if it has both,
57, 58 is the 57 is the it's got this little end thing here that I don't think is. I think the original story is 50. It's on page 53. It ends. Starts on page 7. But then there's this weird same guy walking with photo background. It says here, this is interesting. Cockroach Killer was originally published under its original title Tour de Cafards in A Survie magazine in '83. Released as a graphic novel by Casterman the following year, Dark Horse serialized the story under the title Roach Killer in Cheval Noir magazine in 1990 under the title Roach Killer, and NBM released it as a graphic novel in 1992. The present version is newly retranslated and relettered. So the MBM one is the one I have,
right,
that I bought back then, and it says It's So Hard was originally published in '81 in a special issue of A Suive devoted to John Lennon. It appears here in the first time for English. Manhattan was originally published in '79 in a special edition of A Suive devoted to New York, and then in English in the inaugural issue of Raw in 1980. The present version uses the Raw translations, albeit newly relettered. And Hung's Murder was published in '82 in a special issue of L'Echo de Savanes, devoted to New York.
Okay, I'm going to have to teach you how to properly pronounce all of those.
It's not going to stick, but you can.
Okay, it's à suivre.
À suivre.
À suivre.
À suivre.
And it's Echo des Savanes.
Echo des Savanes.
Yeah, the S is silent. Here's the thing: how do you know when the French are talking in plurals? Because the S's are silent at the end of the words.
À suivre, ça va.
But À suivre is a very famous magazine, so it pays to know how it's properly pronounced.
À suivre.
Mm-hmm.
But when did they start pronouncing the R in Louvre again? Everywhere I go, because it was Louvre. Louvre. All through me growing up, you did not pronounce the R. The last 10 years, everybody I see on TV is pronouncing the R. I'm like, where did that come from? Nobody told me.
Well, I know how to pronounce it because it's always been Louvre over here.
It was always Louvre.
No, it's
until
Louvre.
About 10 years ago. I'm talking on TV and whatever. I don't really know.
Right. It's Louvre. It's 2 syllables.
Yeah, and everybody hits that R now too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not just Louvre. It's Louvre. It's like everybody's hitting that R like crazy that I see on TV. And Hung's Murder was included in the English language anthology, The Mammoth Book of Best Crime Comics in 2008.
Interesting.
And here's
Echo des Savanes is the type of magazine that you should have had in the United States but never did. Because it's where you do intelligent comics.
Here's the question I have too about French. This one, of course, is named New York Mon Amour.
Yeah. But the compilation in France is New York Mi Amor.
Yeah.
Probably because most of the characters are of Italian origin.
No, I don't. This guy's German, but it was in America. And let's see the second one. This last one, they're from Vietnam. I don't think there's any Italians in here. And this one, Manhattan, I don't know if they give us any sort of clue. And this guy is no, I don't think anyone was Italian. That's what I was wondering. Why? And Amor is AMOR, not AMOUR, as it is here.
Right. Oh, Wilson's trying to come in.
This little boy is following me.
Hey,
Hey, we got Wilson in San Diego Comic-Con.
Hey, I'm in like the thick of it, in the middle of it. I can't even hear you guys. There's so much noise, but I just wanted to come by and say hello.
All right.
cool.
I don't know how well the connection is.
I see good so far.
You're coming in pretty good.
All right, cool. I just left Mad Cave, so I said hi to Mike Martz, and I'm just like walking back to my booth, and having a good time.
All right.
Yep. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing all right. Chris is with us.
Hey, Chris, how you doing? He's thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Show us your badge. What is it? Dexter. Ah.
Ah,
Dexter, and I'm gonna turn you around.
whoops.
We lost him.
Yeah, but I think you pressed the wrong button.
Yep, that's what always happens. I'm going to turn you
Uh,
around. Whoops, I hit the stop button.
Mhm. All right, so
Nothing
let's
new
read some
there.
comments. Captain Finity, I'm going back to the future to confirm how everyone draws chains.
All right.
That is
We
still
need
a
to go
point
to
of
the past and
Yeah.
see how everyone draws.
yeah,
chains.
so you can copy it. We're still talking about chains, Chris.
Scott Koblish has agreed to come on and hear
And talk
what
jeans.
we have to say about chains. I have not given him any backstory.
All
I
right.
don't want to influence his opinion one way or the other. I want to hear him here. I want Scott to hear Jared's full explanation the way Jared wants to deliver it. After
All
Jared
right.
delivers the explanation, I want to correct the way Jared misrepresents me, and then allow Scott to make his own opinion on what Jared.
Meanwhile,
I will not-
we have sequential geeks who says monkeys evolved from dolphins.
I will not deny possibly having not represented Chris properly.
Wow.
Sequential
David,
geek wants you
it's
to
all for
pronounce it
gaslighting.
incorrect. Yeah. Sequential geek wants you to pronounce it incorrectly on purpose again. As she says, I to the team, to all the team. Ramos live in SF. Coming in loud and clear. San Diego live. And Friar Tech is here. Wilson looked very happy amongst the chaos.
Yeah, he did.
Looks like
He was
it's-
smiling.
Looks like it's more comics this year. Comics are back. No movies dominating the show.
He just posted, got cut off. Have a great show.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So maybe he stepped into an area where it didn't have a Wi-Fi.
Let me show you a first issue that came out this week that I liked a lot. I think it was a one shot. Circuit's Seduction Revenge. Bondage cover. Look, she's tied up with. And it's by Blaylock Baldari. And it's mature readers.
Mm-hmm.
There's some nudity and sexual situations in it.
Which means the comics for children in Europe?
Yeah, it's nothing that you wouldn't see in a European comic, really. But it was really good. Let me see, who's the name of this guy? Josh Blaylock is the script. I think I may have bought one or two things by him before. I don't remember.
Yeah, he's around.
Antonio Baldari on the art. Sean De Pasquale letters. And Greg plus Fake with Jen Shun colors. An art assist by Josh Blaylock, Travis Heimel, and Sherrod Jackson. But I really enjoyed this. It's kind of, I think what I enjoyed the most about it was the pacing. In terms of it's not the most original story in the world. It's kind of, a revenge story, and it's also an origin story. They mentioned something about the Supreme Court that takes place in like 2049, passing some sort of privacy loophole. Whatever it is, rich people are around to build privacy around them that poor people are not. And there's also sort of sex bots sort of thing. And the rich people were the first to have these sex bots. But once everyone could have them, the rich weren't quite interested in them anymore.
Yeah.
They wanted, things that not everybody else could have, which was real people a lot of the time. But anyway, our lead
stars
character
on their
here.
bellies
What was that?
Like stars on their bellies.
Yes. So
that's the Sneetches.
Oh, is that I thought that was a phone bone. See the one with the star on his shirt in
Well, it's on his shirt. It's not really on his belly. The Sneetches, you see, some had stars on their bellies and some had not.
Dr. Seuss?
The stars on their bellies, they were the high society. Yeah, Dr. Seuss.
But when we come into the story, there's this our lead here who kind of, I guess that's her in there. Her sister gets killed by some rich guy and she of course wants her revenge. So eventually she knew how to work in quantum computing, throw quantum in front of stuff these days. It's like you can get superpowers. Sort of like, it used to be in the 60s, it was radiation. Radiation gave everybody powers. In the 90s, that became genetic engineering. Genetic engineering gave everybody. Nowadays, you can find quantum whatever giving people superpowers. So she was able to use a quantum computer and bring her consciousness into one of the sex bots that was in this guy's compound so she could kill him and get her revenge. Like I said, not the most original plot ever, but really well done. And I have to say, the pacing was so well done. Because in the beginning, she's just at her computer. They're introducing us to the world. They introduce us to the hedonistic rich. They show us a little of the background.
Introducing us?
Introducing us, yes. Sorry, I'm laughing. Building. So just the whole timing, the art was good too. But the timing and the pacing of the story it really did a good job ratcheting up the tension. There was even these couple of characters who were cops who were investigating something that led them to her house. So like, as she was trying to do her thing, the cops were kind of getting closer to her house. It made a really good, it had better pacing than I've seen in your normal comic book. Probably also because it was a one-shot. Probably 40 pages. They never, of course, give you page numbers. But it feels like about 40 pages. But really nice. I have to say, I enjoyed it thoroughly. This was one I just, bought because I read the description of it and said, that's kind of interesting. So I pre-ordered it on Final Order Cutoff. Is that a cyberpunk comic? You could call it cyberpunk. But I would call it more of a thriller than cyberpunk. But yeah, I think it also fits into cyberpunk.
Yes, she was looking at the Kickstarter. 25 years in the future, only the most elite and powerful are given the privilege of privacy.
Yes. I think the only really thing about I guess it had to do with the pacing the rest of the story too. It also had to do about the rich that they could literally wall themselves off too. So it wasn't like she'd have an easy time getting into the compound, even if it was today. But yeah, it was
But
also
from the Lorex Yellow Belly Sneetches.
there we go. Devil's Due Studios. I don't think I've seen a Devil's Due comic in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Was Josh Blaylock the one who was running Devil's Due? Is that where I know his name from?
Probably. I mean, he was involved in that G.I. Joe revival that Devil's
Yeah.
Due did, right? Yeah.
In Devil's Due Studios, head devil Josh Blaylock. Okay. So he is actually the publisher too. But yeah, nice one shot. I'm glad I take chances and get comics like this.
SG says, good point on the trend giving people powers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you go back to the 40s, everybody was either an alien or they were drinking serums.
Yeah, lots of serums. It was chemicals in the 40s.
Yeah.
Random chemicals could even fall on you and give you super speed.
Yeah.
Huh.
More of a thriller, no virtual reality, no stories taking place online.
Yeah, yeah. The only cyberpunk thing would be her jacking into the robot, I guess.
Hmm. Well,
yeah, but I guess it would be more of a thriller with sort of some cyberpunk dressing around it. But it was good. I really enjoyed it.
It's an interesting science fiction element in a dystopian society because if everybody's plugged in, the elite would not be.
Mm-hmm.
They would be the only ones living in reality.
Right.
Everyone else must be plugged in.
Then you've got the Matrix, except the rich are the alien race or robots or whatever. Who were the villains in the Matrix? Were they aliens or robots?
AI.
I don't remember.
They were AI.
They were AI? Okay. Mm-hmm. But they were human AI? Like we made them?
Probably. Here's the thing. First, it looks like it starts in the present day. Then Neo wakes up and it's 500 years in the future. Then you get to Matrix 3, and the main AI tells you it's actually 1700 years in the future.
Ah.
Because they keep rebooting Zion.
Okay.
The real villain is us.
Dun, dun, dun. We've met the enemy, and he is us. Pogo
in the future.
Possum.
It's us in the future when we become the man. Would we would we become enemies to our younger selves when we grow up?
I'm trying to think. Would you say Pogo Possum is like totally forgotten today amongst like general culture?
Yes. So is Blondie and Eggwood.
No, Blondie just got a new intro panel. I saw that in one of my. I don't think Blondie is totally forgotten because it's still going.
Or Nancy and Sluggo. It's still going,
they're still going too. I just got a Nancy and Sluggo analysis book.
Well, I guess Nancy got a boost from that meme that said Sluggo is lit. You remember that one?
I think most comic strips are not in the public conscience like they were 25 years ago.
Yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago.
Right.
Because all of the comic strips that are going are legacy strips, which still retain enough readers to keep going because there are no new ones.
Right.
Now there have been online strips that went on for 20 years, and now the website's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you get forgotten.
Yeah.
I only found out a few weeks ago that User Friendly, one of the first online strips, finally went offline about a year ago.
But like Pogo used to be as mainstream as it gets, as popular and mainstream as it gets. I think that its most famous line, of course, is "We've met the enemy and he is us." And I think that actually they started Earth Day with that in the late 60s. But now it's like I guess since it was never continued by anyone else, it just slowly faded away. Pogo Possum. Because I'd say Calvin and Hobbes is still being discovered by people.
Yeah, but there's a lot of Calvin material showing up online.
Right.
There are at least 3 or 4 different AI bots posting Calvin and Hobbes strips. And they get pushed on me. Not that I mind, because I actually like it.
I saw something this week too on one of my cartoonist blogs I read about how I don't know who it was, saying we've got to start accepting that memes are now the current cartoons.
Yes.
I think some people were pushing back against that. They sort of form the same function.
Okay. Captain Finney says, I don't even like the me of 5 minutes ago. He was a jerk. SG, it is crazy scary. The whole central digital banks, private and public, brick and mortar, in any human skill is supposed to be all online to be data mined.
Yeah.
This is real. It's fucked up our salvation. Public conscience or public consciousness? It was only yesterday I remember that penguin scratchy orange cat strip existed. The Doonesbury. Well, Doonesbury is not very famous in Europe. There are a bunch of American strips which are famous in Europe, but Doonesbury is not one of them. Or Boondocks.
Or Bloom County.
Bloom County had some distribution, but I mean, what newspapers are left, they don't buy strips, or when they do, they go for something that older readers remember. Because I'm getting Peanuts now.
Yeah, I still read Doonesbury. It's new on Sundays. That's it.
I'm sure it was here in Newfoundland, but I was never into it. But I would be now. Well, yeah. The thing about comic strips is that they're not as easy to rediscover because there are no physical items for you to buy with them. I mean, in comics, you can go look for comics and you run into a Golden Age comic and, hey, it's Millie the Model, and you can rediscover Millie the Model. But you can't do that with strips that have been canceled. There are fewer books with collecting those stories. And the rest are stuck in old newspapers, which you're not going to buy.
By the way, Sequential's Geek's comment here about data mining just reminded me that I've been trying to come up with the equivalent of the saying, if one person is killed, it's a tragedy. If 1 million people are killed, it's a statistic.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like the AI equivalent would be, if one artist is ripped off, it's an outrage. If every artist in the world is ripped off, it's just business. I don't think I quite got it yet. It's not poetic enough, but something along those lines. That tends to be what people think. It's like, well, if everybody's being ripped off, that's just business. At least that's what the business people think.
Yeah.
That's just good business.
You're
Did
playing
they
right
reprint Modesty?
hands.
Yeah. Did they reprint Modesty Blaze at all in Europe? Yeah. Modesty Blaze is British, and a few British syndicates managed to get their stuff in continental Europe, especially the adventure strips. They were always easier to market because the humor strips, sometimes the humor is too local and it doesn't work well translated. But we did have Garth is probably the most famous British strip, and there was a Western strip called Matt Marriott that was made in the UK. I think it came from the Sun newspaper, and they would turn full-page strips from Tiger or from other amalgamated press comics into newspaper strips. Although most likely what would happen is that once the strip was ended, a few guys who were representatives of the syndicate in a different country would get all of the strips together and put out a magazine with all of them. Yep, AI equal unemployed. Mhm. That was Stalin consoling Churchill when he got news of
Yeah.
Stalin consoling Churchill is not a sentence I ever expected to write.
Yeah, another comic I got this week, which I think this series hit its stride for the first time. Issue 6 of Seasons by Rick Remender and former Marvel bullpenner Paul Azaceta, with Matthew Lopes or Lopez. I don't know how he says that with an S on the end.
Mateus Lopes is Brazilian.
Ah, Brazilian. Lopes.
Lopes. Well, Brazilians would pronounce it Lopes.
Lopes.
But they're wrong because the Brazilians are killing the language.
But this is the one that's about the 4 sisters. It's really about one sister. They're all named after the seasons, and their parents disappeared a few years ago. And this crazy mystic carnival came into town that, for some reason, wants to capture them all. And the way they capture these the people is this crazy mystic carnival gives you a mirror that you hold. If you look into the mirror, it's happiness. You see, like, everybody loves you in the mirror. They compliment you. So people get locked into that mirror and they never leave. They never want to put it down because it's their best world in that mirror. And that's how they get captured. So this whole issue was like a lot of chase scenes about the main character, who is Autumn, I think. I forget. I think she's Autumn. Winters are big. She's the littlest sister. She's like 12. She's running away. This carnival has her trapped in this other world, this pocket dimension, who knows what. Trying to get her to look into the mirror. Her fake parents are trying to get her to look into the mirror. And one of the coolest things about this issue was there was something annoying about the first 5. Just a little thing. It was nothing much. I don't know why it annoyed me. With all the unreality in this book. Like I said, she's a 12-year-old girl. She's riding around on her bike around this little quaint town. And she's she's constantly carrying around this fish bowl with a fish in it, like a goldfish in it. And I'm always like, in my head, I'm always like, she's going to drop that goldfish. There's no way that goldfish, with all the other crazy stuff going on, I'm not buying into this goldfish bowl on her bicycle handles. What we choose not to believe makes no sense sometimes. But in this issue, in this world, the goldfish grows really big and helps guide her through this world. And I was like, oh, I am so glad that goldfish paid off. Because it was annoying me for 5 issues. But matter of fact, there's the little goldfish on the cover. Let's see if I can get you a picture of the big goldfish.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, it really there she is riding on the big goldfish. So it's just flying around. But I gotta say, this is the first issue I really liked of it. Not that I disliked the other ones. It was just kind of a B. This issue was an A, so I really enjoyed it.
Sequential Geek was laughing probably at your attempts to mispronounce names again. Do I think Americans butchered the English language? No, but Australians do.
I'm fine with the English language. I'm not. What? I can't remember.
The differences between different geographical forms of English are smaller than the differences between European Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese.
Like I can't pronounce names in languages other than English generally, just because I've got no experience in it. We Americanize names here, but Howlermouse, Tim, he butchers American, and he knows it.
Yeah.
This is like he read all these names. He never heard them as a kid, but he was doing a show with Josh. I think I was watching, and I forget which one. I was just like, oh man, he butchered some, and he butchers names in the ways like nobody else does.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did he come up with that one? I forget what the name was, but it made me go, how did he come up with that one?
Yeah, this time it was not Simon Bisley.
Simonson, he goes for that one all the time for Simonson, but at least I can understand that one. The amount of people who say quietly instead of quietly is amazing too. That always happens. That's like standard, Frank quietly.
Yeah. And I do know the difference between there, and there. Butchering the English language. Have you been to Yorkshire? Luckily, no. I think people from Liverpool do a disservice of the English language, a much bigger disservice of the English language than people from York. Because in York, it's supposed to be the closest to Middle English that exists today. And that's why to people from the Midlands, which is the basic British accent is based on the Midlands accent. So people from Yorkshire, which is a little bit further to the north, they have a hard time understanding those people. Although I was watching a sitcom based in Liverpool once, and man, nobody understands these guys. I mean, they have a weird accent. I think it's because they live too close to Wales.
Chris, have you gotten a chance to read any of Paul Azacetta's new comic?
I just found out about it now.
Oh, okay. Seasons is the name of it. He's doing it with Rick Remender is writing it from Image.
I have yet to buy a new comic, but then again, I can't afford a new comic.
Not if you keep flunking those tests.
No.
I read another old comic, graphic novel this week. This is Beta Testing the Apocalypse by, what's his name? Tom Kaczynski. Fantagraphics. And I got this one 2 mochas ago. So that means I got it in like March 2024. Finally got around to reading it. And I think this guy was, hope he did me a nice drawing in it too. I bought it right from him. He was at the I think he has something to do with Uncivilized Books too. And I also think it's because it's duotone. It reminds me of Daniel Clowes a little bit. And it's a collection of stories that he's done over the years. Some shorter, some longer. But it was pretty... a lot of them, it appeared, let's see, in a... And there's an index in it for some reason.
An index in a comic. Now I've seen everything.
Yes. So if you want to know, the mall is on pages 10, 12, and 24. He's at a mall. Global Ambition, page 59. I don't know what that is. I don't know.
No, now you have to go to page 59 and figure out what it is.
Let's see. 59, Global Ambition. Is it the name of a story? No, it's a company startup. It was located in the company's global ambitions embodied in the huge can. That's just a description of the company. The company has global ambitions. That's so weird that there's an index in here. And there's also a glossary Cozy Apocalypse, The New, Skyway Sleepless, 36th Chamber of Commerce, Utopia Dividend. So there's a lot. You know what it is? Let me see if I can find what was the name of where these were for. Mome. Okay. There was a comic called Mome, M-O-M-E, from Fantagraphics. That some of these shorter stories appeared. I think I may have read an issue or two of it. But if I were to describe this comic, and it mentions that Mome's ambitions were to be literary. And if I were to describe this comic, I think that's how I'd describe it too. Its ambitions are to be literary. And what I mean by that is it's mostly about the writing the writing and concept and ideas rather than being about the visuals. Of course, there's visuals to it, and he actually tells a good story, but you walk away from a lot of the stories going, what was that about? Think what he meant by that was that. So I think its ambitions were to be literary, which you see from only Fantagraphics. It's like you don't really see that from most comics. Where most comics, if their ambitions are to be literary, it's strictly plot. Like most mainstream comics are their plot and visuals. This kind of wanted to be something more, and I enjoyed it. It was fun because it made you think about a lot of it. A lot of it was weird stories about guys and corporate music for Neanderthals. That's one of the stories, and it's about a Neanderthal and how they invent music and go forward in time somehow. So there's like lots of where is this one? Even the names of the stories are literary. The New, beta testing the apocalypse in 2012, which is about an architect making all these weird shapes and ancient civilizations and their architecture. So it was real. I found it very interesting. It's good stuff, but Tom Kaczynski, once again, that's a name I only know how to pronounce. The American that's how we'd say it here. I don't know how you'd say that in Poland.
Kaczynski. Kaczynski.
Yeah.
Vertex says, how's he closest to Cockney English? Probably because of the convict connection. No insult to Cockney intended. SG is halfway done paying off debt, and then I had car insurance, so not buying comics anytime soon. Yeah. Thumbs up. True. In New York, many people heard from my North London accent asked, where in Australia are you from? Those accents sound completely different to me, Cobber. Well, they are. They are. Cockney does not sound like standard Australian.
I never ask anyone where their accents are from. And I just accept any accent. I'm just like when people see movies and stuff and say, oh, that person had a horrible English accent. Person had a horrible Scottish accent. That person had a horrible Polish accent. I'm like, oh, okay. Because when you live in and around New York City, you get to hear so many accents that it's just like I can't even keep track of where they're all from. And I'm like, and someone could be making up an accent like that, and I'd never know it. They could just be goofing around with me and talking in some accent. I've never met them before. I'd be like, oh, okay.
So if Borat showed up, you'd think he was real.
I'd be like, sure, whatever.
You do know that your northeastern accent comes out many times.
Oh, I know.
You know who
I
else
realize
thought
I have
Borat's
an
accent was
accent
real?
just like everyone else in the world.
Yeah, Cruz. A lot of people thought Borat's accent was real because there was a time when Sacha Baron Cohen was not famous.
Yeah. Like if I'm in like a lot of my students even are from others, so they all have like there's a lot of them have accents. So I'm just like, all right, I'm so used to accents that. How's
the cross-gen collection coming along?
I've been saving up my credit card points to get the Mystic Omnibus. Last year, I saved up my credit card points and got the Sigil Omnibus. This year, I'm saving up my credit card points to get the Mystic one, which came out last year. I'm waiting it to reach that sweet spot of, I don't know. I think it's at $90 now on Amazon. It's because my card points all like are on Amazon. So I think I got like $40 worth. So maybe soon I'll be adding to my cross-gen collection. Because I always meant to get the individual issues that I didn't have, but I just never did. But since Marvel put out a couple omnibuses, may as well get those. Why not? NYC.
NYC is the shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even Captain Finity loves NYC, the city that never sleeps.
So awesome to live in. Yeah.
Well, yeah, awesome to live near NYC, not in NYC.
Yeah.
Right?
Commuting in, depending on where you are.
If you actually could you actually live in New York City?
I don't know if I'd want to. I've spent a lot of time there. I pseudo lived there, but not really. Ask Chris; he lived there, and he's lived other places.
Chris, what's the best place in the U.S. to live for you? You love it?
The biggest problem is the expense.
It's expensive. It's expensive, and just at that very tiny space, which is not ideal for an artist or a collector. So you kind of give up on collecting things. And now that I'm here, we have this situation.
Now that he's here, he's got a studio and an apartment, probably for much less than the two of them together than NYC he was paying.
Yep.
What was your last rent in New York?
It was $1,200. And when I moved out, it was like one of the guys upstairs was taking the apartment, and he was, and like I was leaving a bunch of stuff behind that I wasn't taking with me. And he was like, "Oh, you want it? I'll give you money. I'll pay for that. I'll give you for that chair. I'll take the air conditioner or whatever. So just making a few bucks." And then he was talking about how great the apartment is. He's like, "Yeah, the location's really good. I mean, it's really close to the city. You get in there real quick." It's all true. So he's like, "Yeah, I mean, it's a great price. I mean, $1,500 a month is great. It's more than fair." So he'd already gone up $300 between me and that guy.
What part of the city was it in?
It was in Astoria.
Oh yeah, Astoria. What year was that?
In Queens.
What year was that?
I left in 2017.
Okay. So 2017 in Astoria, a tiny apartment, $1,500. Yep. That's the tough part about New York City.
Yeah. And it's
funny,
all the cool stuff about New York City. I never, the cool stuff about New York City, like, going out and checking out shows, and I just stopped. I wasn't really doing it. I wasn't really taking advantage of the cool stuff. I was just busy working all the time.
I wonder how much Greg Schiegel's last apartment cost him in Midtown before he moved out.
I'm sure I've heard those numbers, and I couldn't possibly tell you. I don't remember. I don't retain that.
Wasn't cheap. Whatever it was.
Nope.
SG currently lives near Detroit. And I remember many years ago he did videos when he was living in Cleveland. So he's been around.
I've heard a lot of artists have moved to Detroit for cheap housing.
Really?
Forest Hill's in the house.
Yeah, if Queens count. Well, of course Queens counts. And Mr. Gretzky's here from Raleigh. From Raleigh, Raleigh, North Carolina.
But it's funny, when you live in Astoria, Manhattan is the city,
Yeah.
Same as with Brooklyn.
Hey,
Like,
you were
I
the
gotta
one
go
that
into
you
the
were the one
city.
that said I lived in New York City, not me.
Yeah, I know. You mentioned the guy said getting into the city is easy. Like that's part of New York City vernacular.
Oh. Yeah,
To people outside New York City, you live in New York City. But inside New York City, you say, I'm going to the city, and it means Manhattan, usually downtown, midtown.
Yes, she's asking that part about artists moving to Detroit. Where is their artwork though? It would be nice to have some contributions to the rep of the D.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
I just heard story. I've just read articles about artists moving to Detroit. I don't know much about it. But you could look it up. You live there.
Yeah, go to a few stores and conventions.
And another series that hit another good issue.
All right.
It's the Department of Truth. Different artist in this one. The artist is Letizia Cadonici. There's our creative team.
Letizia Cadonici.
Uh,
or Cadonici if she's from the north of the country.
But this one kind of ties in a little bit to James Tinian's other book, World Tree, and that the Department of Truth is if enough people believe in a conspiracy, then it rewrites history and becomes true. And this particular story arc is about a girl who believed it's sort of a Slender Man story. You know who Slender Man is? That what do they call that? A creepy pasta.
Yeah.
People write stories like an internet meme about this creepy Slender Man and then people make whatever. This is the man with the black hat, sort of the same thing, but enough people are believing in it, so it kind of disappeared this girl's friend. So she's trying to find her friend. So she's now starting to believe in it too, and the man in the black hat is starting to show up and watch her. So I think somebody from the Department of Truth has to show up eventually and kill this man with the black hat. Usually we've gotten the stories from the Department of Truth's point of view. This story is from like this girl's point of view, so it's a little different. But it was a nice, scary issue. Good stuff. Issue 32, another one that's getting up there in issues.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read any of the Department of Truth, Paolo?
Yeah, I have the first 3 trade paperbacks.
Yeah, the last story arc I was a little down on. Like I said, ebbs and flows, nothing terrible. It was just kind of this. It was a very heavy navel gazing story arc. Everybody like who worked for the Department of Truth was like trying to figure out what their life meant to them and what the department. It was kind of like, it got heavier than a lot of stuff. So I was like, I found it less engaging than other. This one's got me engaged again. Like I said, all 11 books this episode this week had me engaged. Like Sleep was another one. Xander Cannon book, the guy who did Kaiju Max. And this one has just been about this guy. There he is on the back. He thinks he's a monster. When he falls asleep, a monster comes out and wrecks the town and kills people. And we don't know, we as the reader don't know if he's a monster, and nobody in town believes he's a monster. But he's starting to think he's a monster, that it's him, that something's going on with it. So at the end of last issue, he got himself locked up in jail so that he could get some sleep and hopefully, no monster. But he woke up in his own house, which was half wrecked. He went back to the jail, which was completely wrecked. the guy in the cell next to him just freaked out and didn't want to be anywhere near him. So it was just a really good issue. It was like the I don't know how many issues this is supposed to go. I imagine you can't keep that premise up that long. But so far, the first 3 issues have been a lot of fun. Good stuff. Did you ever read Kaiju Max, either of you?
No.
That's a good one if you ever. That's where Xander Cannon's been around for a while, but I only first heard of him during Kaiju Max. So,
Well, he was one of the artists on top 10 for Alan Moore.
right, yeah, he goes back that far. I didn't even know.
I remember his name when Jim Valentino took over as Image publisher after Jim Lee dropped off and sold Wildstorm to DC. Valentino infused a bunch of comics to keep the Image part of the catalog thick enough, but he was definitely looking for quality. And one of the artists that he brought in was Xander Cannon, who had a black and white comic called Replacement God, and I remember the ad for it.
Yeah, I remember that name, but not much else.
So when he started doing top 10, I already knew his name. And but here's the thing: Xander Cannon is a guy who has a lot of fans. He has some fans who who really enjoy his work, but it's not as well known as it deserves to be.
No. He's got enough fans to support a comic, and I'm one of them now. So I'm not sure when Kaiju Max first showed up. Must be like 8 years ago now, something like that. But I've been buying this stuff since then.
See you later, SG.
Have a good one. That's a good one.
Here's the thing. When we look back to guys who were there in the 70s and 80s, do you guys have a writer or artist that you really liked but never really took off? It's usually an artist, because the writers have usually always come up with a.
My favorite has never really took off, who is Carla Speed McNeil.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's an excellent writer and artist. Finder is one of my favorite books ever. But nobody but me thinks that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say nobody, but she never took off. I think her stuff is terrific.
Yeah. Bernie Wrightson suffers from not being a superhero artist, because he doesn't. He has a legion of fans who are into the type of work that he does, but not having been a superhero artist, he missed out on the big time and on making money like he should have.
I don't think so. I think he was one of those 70s guys who got out of comics to go into commercial art. That whole era, Barry Windsor Smith, who else was in the studio with Bernie Wrightson, Neil Adams, slightly older than them though.
Yeah. Mike
there was that whole sort of, they all came up in the late 60s, early 70s, and they're all sort of, a lot of them came through Continuity Studios. Were all very good, illustrative. They kind of changed comics and then left because comics didn't have money for them. So I always think of Bernie Wrightson as one of those guys. He was, that Frankenstein book probably made him more money than Swamp Thing. And I don't know. I just always assumed he was doing commercial artwork because I never saw him doing any comic work. Same with Neil Adams, who was doing tons of commercial artwork. So I put him in that category, kind of. He was too talented for comics, kind of thing. He could make a lot more money doing the heyday of commercial illustration. Like, I don't think anyone could do that now. I think the heyday of commercial illustration is long gone.
Oh yeah, no, it's all photo. It's all photo reference.
Yeah, and now AI is taking over.
Yeah, right. Because even there are not many calls for drawings if you can have photographs or of things or even people,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that you now have plenty of access to. You didn't have access to as many photographs. Setting up if you're doing advertising, you needed a studio to get the item on a place at a certain time, so you could do the photograph without anything getting in the way, and the lighting had to be just right because you have to give it to the client, and the client has to agree.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes you a lot more time to get all the items together, prepare the shot, do the shot, reveal the photos, which is not something that you need to do now because it goes
before any of that was done, it was the commercial illustrators who had to draw that.
Right.
Like you said, you had those photos had to be perfect. So that was like the end step. The first thing you did was hire illustrators to do you color comps and things. So they would draw out all of the ideas they had for the final photo shoot, and that is what the client would decide from. So that's what all their work was. But I don't think that goes on anymore.
No, you just go to the studio and shoot.
Yeah. Now you can just take shots easily with anything.
Well, yeah. Nowadays, lighting is getting a lighting setup is cheaper, and you can test out all the lights, especially now that you have LED lights, and you can turn some on and leaving some off.
And you can put your ideas together in Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I don't even think, like I said, I think what those guys did in the 70s doesn't even really exist anymore. Huh. Let's see another book that was good, of course. The latest Usagi Yojimbo.
Still going.
Still going. Issue 284 or 10,000 Plums, part 5 of 5. But this was really part 2 of 2.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the story that had to do with his brother who just died. And there is a picture of Stan and his brother, and a little remembrance of his brother. But his brother was, he was born in 1958 very prematurely, weighing only 1 pound, 6 ounces his birth. As a result, he was mentally challenged, but still led a very fulfilling life. So he, in this 2-part story, there was it was about them going on a quest to get some healing waters. And 2 of the characters were this guy. Oh, here they are.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger guy is mentally challenged, and the little guy is his younger brother who can't walk. So the whole thing is about them going to this statue to hopefully see a miracle and get the tears of the statue to heal themselves. Very poignant, especially knowing the story. Someone with the last issue in here mentioned the story of his younger brother, which I didn't know, but then he gave it to us here. So, the brother who's mentally challenged in here ends up sacrificing so that he could get his brother to walk. Very poignant, good stuff. Very poignant Usagi Yojimbo story that you can tell he was thinking about his brother in that one. So it was good stuff. But Usagi's always good.
Mm-hmm.
But now they'll start the next miniseries.
Captain Finney says, I do use photo reference for my New York shots in my comic, but the photos were taken by me. So it's got it's gone 180 degrees.
It's always
used-
best to take your own photo reference.
Yeah, you used to draw what you wanted to do a photo shoot on. Now you take photo reference so you know what to draw.
Because if you don't use your own photo reference, internet sleuths will track down your
Yeah.
publicly available photo referencing.
The Goblin says your Jimbo comic got lost in the mail. All the
I
U.S. bound mail
keep
is
forgetting to mention it did not get lost in the mail. It's here.
Finally, we get a review.
I keep
an unboxing.
Thank you for mentioning it because I think I got it a couple of weeks ago. He sent me a Halloween Fest mini Usagi with also some art cards on the back that I can draw on. So we're gonna draw. I've had this sitting on my drawing table to show it off for about 3 weeks now, and just keep forgetting. So it did not get lost in the mail. It got here.
Yeah, you need to do a solo video on it.
I was gonna. I just kept forgetting. But it arrived. I'll add it to my Usagi collection. Let's see, when's the postmark on? I think this might be the third show that I've meant to show this off in and finally have. Finally have. Oh, there's one thing I wanted to mention. Cool, yes. Sleepy Reader was showing off his Neil Adams artist edition. And I don't think he's here tonight, but I wanted to answer a question he was asking about. It kind of annoyed him, and it's always annoyed me too. About a white outline. You know when someone, I don't know if I have an example here, someone draws a figure on a black background and they put a white outline around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's like, why did I do that? And I can remember, I don't know who wrote it years and years ago, but they always said, a good artist should be able to make black meet black. Whoever this person was obviously didn't like the white backgrounds either. Like a good artist can make black. And I can remember, especially in the 90s, they had a lot of white outlines around stuff. And I can remember somebody at Marvel explaining it to me. I don't know if I asked or someone else asked. They're like why? And it's usually the inker who does that. I mean, if the artist, you occasionally see it these days. Sometimes the colorist does it, puts a white holding line around. And in the 90s, I was told a lot of the inkers liked to do that so you could see their line. They were proud of their ink line. So they didn't want to just obliterate their ink line into black. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting thought. I had never heard that before, in the early 90s, but and you could definitely see it because they definitely were doing something with their ink line. Their outline of the figure meant something to them. They didn't want to just butt it up against black. But I still agree with that other guy too, who said a good artist knows how to make black meet black. So I've never really used white outlines against black backgrounds, but occasionally I do put digital outlines on things. So I guess that's kind of the same thing, but I like it there for the color.
There was a white outline that really bugged me when I saw it, because there was a Hulk annual. It was the first story written by John Byrne before he took over the monthly title, and it was still drawn by Sal Buscema and inked by Keith Williams, who was not a regular inker of Sal, because at the time it was that guy from the Philippines, Jerry Talayok, who was doing the inking, and for some reason the white the white line around it. He used the white line around his figure 2 or 3 times. It was really thick, and it didn't make any sense because there was no point in where the scene was actually in a place that was dark. I guess Sal didn't want to draw backgrounds everywhere, which is acceptable because sometimes for page composition and it would be a little bit more balanced, you don't want to draw everything. But everything was, that scene was black with the white outline, and it was just distracting.
Yeah. I'm pretty much a case by case basis these days, and I think due to digital, artists have gotten much more sophisticated with their white outlines. It's like they'll use white outlines maybe on one part of the figure or whatever, and not on other parts, because it's easier to, in those days you had to either not use any ink in that area or use white out, depending on which way you were doing it. And it was always more trouble than doing it digitally, just using the eraser tool today. But I'm much more a case by case basis of white outline these days. And also I noticed some, like I said, sometimes the colorist does it this day, but they do it in like a graphic design way rather than a sort of inker showing off their line way. Meaning they're making different choices. So I'm case by case basis on white lines these days. While probably in the 90s I was against white lines around a figure. I was more in the, a good artist can make the black meet black, which I still believe they can.
Yeah, it works, and
it's a different thing.
And Walt Simonson did that a lot for a while, and it looked good because it gave a little more substance to the scene he was doing. My complaint is that about that specific Hulk story, because it's Sal doing something that he usually doesn't, and the inker is not his regular inker, and to me, in that one, they just messed up. So yeah, it is case by case. I mean, if it's the artist's intent and the inker doesn't know what he's doing, because the inker decides to do something without the artist knowing.
Right. Walter is usually more graphic design-y too. So
yeah. I mean, I just finished rereading Star Slammers, and the second story he did at Malibu. It was a lot better than the Marvel graphic novel. Not that I don't like the Marvel graphic novel, because to me it was very good, but it's different. He's trying to do something that looks like a low budget sci-fi movie.
My favorite part of the graphic novel, which still sticks with me, is only 3 of them.
Yeah. But the mini series is set a few centuries in the future of that story. So he has a main character there called Rojas, and there are parts of the story when he plays a lot more with a page composition, trying to get some effects, tell the story through the effects more than just the art. It's the effects. The effects are important to the story. And yeah, the graphic novel was much easier to obtain because that Malibu mini series kind of got lost in the dollar bins. So having that in the omnibus is a good way to fully understand what he wanted to do with those characters.
Let me run through my last 4, which were all good. Exquisite Corpses number 3 came out. This has been solid. This may have been the worst book of the week, and it was good. Bunch of assassins fighting each other in a small town due to rich people who run the whole world, run the whole country. So that one's been fun. Then we got Vanishing Point. This one's Who writes this? Mark Russell. The artist is Alberto Ponticelli. Different artist each. I think it's going to be 5 issues. Anthology, different artist each issue. This issue was like sci-fi stories, a little sad too. This one was about aliens running like a sentient person zoo, experimenting on different alien creatures from everywhere. They may have been human, I can't remember. It was a little sad about, human to learn more about the universe. Then we've got Feral, our cats facing zombie books. In this issue, they're in Pet City trying to serve. They broke in, but there's these fat cats already living there, and we found out the cats that they found living in this Pet City are cannibals. So now we have zombies and cannibals. And Ice Cream Man. Like I said, this is an anthology, so each issue is different. And in this one, we get... I knew how this story was going to end. Usually they give all sorts of weird twists and turns, but you just see this one coming. It's about this guy having a meeting with his bosses about some crazy incident at work. And the crazy incident at work was him chainsawing a bunch of people to death. So they go through all of the... So he's a mess. They go through all the stuff that built. They're interviewing him. They're a bit crazy themselves, this father and daughter boss. They go through this whole thing about going through all his all the trouble he'd gotten into. And then at the end, you just know they're going to be like, and you got promoted. So of course that's how it ended. He's like, and he's like, I guess you're firing me. He's like, no, we're promoting you. Because this is some crazy ice cream man corporate. It's like, you knew that. I won't even call it a twist. You could see it coming a mile away. They weren't hiding it. That they were like, because like I said, the boss and the boss's daughter were just as crazy as this guy. But it was a fun issue, as Ice Cream Man always is.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with Ice Cream Man because to me it got repetitive after a while.
Once again, ebbs and that's the good thing about a pull list. Mm-hmm. Is what happens when I see this happen to everyone. It would happen to me if I didn't have a pull list. You hit an issue or two, like especially these long running series, they have ebbs and flows, must be my theme for this evening. But if you hit one of those ebbs, you might stop buying it. And, an issue or two later, you might have liked it again, but you start, you got familiar with it. You kind of hit a couple issues that weren't A's, and you're like, And that's what it would happen to me. I know 100%. I would not have read all these issues of Usagi Yojimbo if I didn't have it on my... There were times in like the late 90s where I would let Usagi build up to like 5 or 6 issues before, because I'd be like, I don't feel like reading that right now. I don't feel like reading. It wasn't like the first, because I was familiar. It became familiar to me. And then I'd read like 6 issues in a row and go, wow, that was really good. Why did I not read these issues before? So I know if I didn't have it on my pull list, I probably would stop buying most things because of the ebbs and flows, and especially if the stuff I buy, there's not shelf copies of. So it would be like, oh yeah, remember that book's still out? I used to really like that one. So I think that happens with long running series, even if it's by the same creative team.
Right. If you're buying Marvel or DC, you can trust there's a new comic, even if it's a fill-in issue.
Yeah.
But there, okay, even if you don't like an individual issue, you have to pay attention to when the comic comes out because you still want it.
And you might not like the next creative team. Mm-hmm. The next creative team might be really good. So I'll just hang out. I'll read these mediocre ones because the next creative team might be good. But with like comics that the one guy is doing, you can get used to it. So it doesn't have that same effect on you anymore. Until you keep reading. Like I said, it's the ebb. I'm okay. Like sometimes I'm like, like, the last, Monstrous, like 2 arcs ago on Monstrous wasn't my favorite arc. But if I'd stopped reading it then, I wouldn't have got this good stuff. Same, Department of Truth was the other one. Last arc of Department of Truth was just a B to me, but this one's starting to be an A. So it's like, but that's how people stop reading comics too.
Mm-hmm.
They stop buying them because they get out of the habit. And then they just never pick it up. I can't tell you. The percentage of my comic book friends who actually read comics is really small. And most of the reason is because they don't take a regular trip to the comic shop. They don't have a pull list to get their regular stuff. It's easier not to. Life gets in the way.
Yeah, but at least you got to make sure that you can point them at the right place where the trade paperbacks are.
Yeah.
Because if you don't go every week or every month, it's better for you to buy trades.
But the problem with that is comic shops can't compete with Amazon. So a lot of shops don't stock up that many trade paperbacks. Mm-hmm.
But they have to figure it out because
it's a tough business.
Yeah,
it's a tough. Like I get most of my collected editions from eBay or Amazon. Occasionally, I order one from the comic shop, but I mostly just get my regular comics from the comic shop. Because the problem with buying collected editions is they're going to be cheaper 6 months from now. Like this I got, it's an old library edition. I was just like, you know what? I want to read some Jacques Tardy. Let's see what's on eBay. So, got this on eBay for probably less than $10 shipped. And, if I were to order it through my comic shop, it's $20. And comic shops know that. And I have ordered things through my comic shop, but not every, like I just didn't order. It was like last week was final order cutoff for the latest Brubaker and Phillips Criminal. And some of those I've ordered through the comic shop. Some of them I haven't. I just didn't feel like ordering a 30. I already had like 10 comics that week. So I didn't want to order a $30 item.
Yeah.
And I know that $30 item is going to be $16 6 months from now on Amazon or someplace. So it's like,
Yeah, I've never really wanted to buy from Amazon because if it has to come from the US, the price difference is not going to be much, and I will know for sure that the book will come well maintained.
People order a lot of stuff from halfpricebooks.com. I think that's the one there's another one that you can get graphic novels from. I forget what it was.
Yeah, and then they do look like they're half priced.
Yeah.
Lefty says comics used to be one and done stories. Now with Tiny, he takes forever to tell the story.
He's got different arcs.
But it's not true that all the stories were one and done. Writers knew how to tell the story quickly because they knew they might not be around to continue telling the story that they want. So if it was usually 2 to 3 months to tell a story, and then move on to something else. I understand the thing about decompression because I've complained about it myself. I blame the editor. I don't care if you are writing and drawing your own comic and that you own it. You should still hire an editor because the editor will be able to tell you what you need to do have a more successful story that people can enjoy better without any obstacles getting in the way of enjoying the story. And if you start decompressing a comic and nothing happens in 2 issues in a row, people are going to complain, or they're just going to stop buying. So you should get the editor. No, this does not need to be a 12-page story arc. You can tell the story in 4 issues. And nobody's doing that to any of them. Not even in the big 2, where they're supposed to do that, because they have to safeguard the characters.
And the Tinian stuff I'm buying are continued series.
Mhm.
So I kind of expect that. He tells them in 5 or 6 issue arcs, like Department of Truth, and what was the other one I had this week? Well, something like Exquisite Corpses is like a 12-issue series, so that's going to be 12 issues. Monstrous, they tell the stories in 6-issue blocks. So
Lefty says he trade waits a lot of new stuff, and he picks up singles and waits until he has 6 to read in one sitting.
See, I like the periodical nature of comics. I like reading because it gets me to think about them. I like having wondering what's coming up, talking about them on this show.
And not everyone is doing a story that can be read in singles.
Yeah.
And if you have that thing where you write for the trade, writing for the trade, there's no point in having the singles.
But like I like the periodical nature. That's also why I read all my comics twice before I put them away, just because the second time reading them is a different experience, and that way I also remember things.
Cheap graphic novels and in-stock trades both run great sales.
Yeah.
Owned by Lunar, I suppose. Yeah.
In-stock trades, that was the one I was trying to think of, but couldn't.
I'm in Get Infinity. I'm doing everything on my comic, but I still have an editor, and she's hard to please. Yeah, the editor will kill. Don't do this because this is bad. Listen to the editor. Don't go on. Hey, I own the comic. I created this. You don't have a say. No.
I say go with I own this comic. I created it. You don't have a say.
Yeah, I'm going to become your editor when you start creating comics on a regular basis. Again, I'll tell you. Okay, this you don't need a splash page here. Do a 4-panel grid.
I've already drawn it. I'm not going to draw it again.
Fine. I'll get Ron Lim to do.
Ron Lim will do a fill-in issue.
Yeah. Special guest artist Ron Lim.
Yeah, well, one of the problems with comics is they're all first drafts. It's if it was a book, the comic you see would be a first draft, and then you'd go back in. But that's not how comics are made. You got to draw the whole damn thing. When you have to draw the whole damn thing, that's your only draft. But like any comic, think of any like 6-issue story arc could be improved by doing it a second time. But that's not how comics are made, so it's tough. No matter how many drafts you put the initial script through, it doesn't matter, because when you have to draw the thing, that's another first draft. And you don't have time to draw it more than once.
Right.
And it's really tough to get everything right the first time when you're drawing it. I mean, any artist who looks at a issue he does wishes there's things he could change.
Sure. But you have to figure out tricks. I mean, if you know you're running against the clock.
Oh, yeah, they get it done. I mean, comics get done. There's no doubt about it. But they're really, it's tough to make, especially Marvel, make a comic on a monthly basis, Marvel and DC, and make it art somehow, something bigger than it is. It's tough. It's a tough gig.
Well, I bet that most current artists don't even do a draft. draft out the whole comic before starting.
Yeah, some just start drawing page. That's always been that way. They don't even do. They do layout page by page by page.
Yeah, the way people think that things should be done is pretty much impossible, and you have to do anything you can to save time. So like once you have like if you're like 50%, you just gotta plow forward, or it's never gonna happen.
You know what Joe Manili used to do? You would just do rough sketches, and then ink on top of the rough sketches.
Oh yeah. He would draw in ink.
But if you do your own inking, that's probably a good way to save time.
Yeah.
But have to.
That's how you. That's why artists wanted to ink their own work to make more money too. Because if you were inking your own work, you could spend less time on the penciling. So that's why artists also liked to ink their own work. But yeah, if there was some way to spend a year making a graphic novel and being able to do drafts of it and figuring out it, you probably get a lot different work than
like the French do.
Yeah. But I don't know how many drafts even the French do. I don't know.
Well, they don't. They probably don't do that much. But then again, the French are used to a method of doing comics.
Right. Takes a little more time.
Well, it does take a little time because the artist is really in charge of everything. Even if he has assistants at the studio, the artist will tell the assistant how to draw backgrounds, what type of coloring he wants in the story. So there's still a little bit of assembly line involved, but it's all under the control of the artist. So, and you will know it's a personal choice. It's not an editor who is misjudging the author's intent. Get Infinity. No time travel. Infinity, you promised me. You don't even want to see flashbacks. Just tell it chronological. Well, you can do flashbacks or in media res. Well, actually, your editor might not like in media res.
I'm not a fan of like TV shows that always start with you see the lead character injured. Maybe he's got a cut on his shoulder. He's walking. He's trying to hunch down. He walks over, hides behind some garbage cans, and then they show 3 days earlier. And then they proceed to tell the story. By the time you get to him, you've completely forgotten the beginning 2 minutes. It's like, why did you bother putting that there?
Yeah, you're probably wondering how I got into this predicament.
Yeah, like no, I'm not. Just tell me the story. But that happens like all the time in television storytelling. And then I'm only like, oh, we're back to the beginning. I completely forgot about that first 2-minute scene. They didn't even need to have that there.
But in media res, you're supposed to move along the story that starts in the middle at the same time that you're using the flashbacks to explain. So it's not like you do you're all wondering how I got into this predicament. Well, let me tell you a story.
No.
That's not in media res. What comics were redone, if any? Well, X-Men 137 was redone.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't have the Phoenix surviving.
There are some comics that have been redone because they lost all the pages. Those that usually doesn't turn out well. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know it's happened. And they made crap. We gotta finish these overnight.
And they made Chaikin redraw all the faces in that James Bond movie adaptation he did.
Oh yeah. Well, that happens all the time. When somebody has likeness rights, I think it was X-Files from that Charlie Adler was drawing, the Walking Dead guy in the 90s. They just ended up pasting the same faces over Mulder and Scully because those were the ones they approved.
The 3 days earlier framing device. I got told to scrap that shit.
3 days earlier.
All right.
What?
Well, I guess we can start wrapping up.
Yeah. We might have to go on your channel next week again because it's August 1st.
Right. You still haven't gotten the.
And I think my StreamYard turns over at the beginning of the month, but I've noticed sometimes I don't think it turns over to the first Monday of the month.
Right. Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Just again. Yeah. You guys just made my day. Victoria was. Yes. Listen to Victoria.
3 days earlier. Oh. I go like that every time I see that. Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chris, anything you got? Anything else you got going on?
Want to promote anything before we end?
Nope.
He's just doing his design job.
Come to Comic-Con, Nebraska. Come to Comic-Con, Nebraska next weekend. It's going to be
Comic-Con, Nebraska, and Terrific-Con in Connecticut.
Yeah,
that's where you can meet Chris in all his glory.
All right. So we'll be back here next week again on my channel for another round of the Cavern of Chaos. Thank you all for staying with us for the 2 hours and 40 minutes that we always have this show going on.
Yeah.
And have a nice weekend. Keep reading old comics.
And some new ones.